Let's see. I hope that you guys can hear me. I'm doing something a little bit different, as you can tell, from actually being able to see me and recording this podcast today. So let's see how this goes and if this will be a thing. So I guess I should start from the beginning, right? That would be smart. Um, what's up? What's up? Welcome back to Leading with Grace. I am your host, Tanika Asiedu, strategist, consultant, founder of TMAC, Tanika Asiedu Consulting, and today we're having a conversation that honestly shifted the way I view overwhelm and exhaustion and leadership and even my spiritual growth, because for a long time I genuinely thought that my problem was discipline. I could have been the most undisciplined person ever, right? I thought maybe I just needed like a better time management, stronger faith, more prayer, motivation, or consistency, a new journal, a new Bible. But eventually, I thankfully realized something that's really important. Sometimes the issue is not spiritual weakness. Sometimes the issue is actual structural overload. And I think there are so many of us, especially women, mothers, leaders, entrepreneurs, caregivers, ministry workers, pastors, preachers, all that good stuff, who deeply love God, but are privately drowning under unsupported responsibility. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. Why you feel overwhelmed, why motivation keeps failing, and why confusion is usually structural. And honestly, this conversation may change the way you see your life completely. I think that one of the biggest things happening in Christendom, in our culture right now, is that we are spiritualizing problems that are actually operational dysfunctions. Now, let me be clear. I absolutely believe spiritual warfare is real. Ask me how I know. But I also believe that sometimes we call warfare, or the things that we like to attribute to spiritual warfare, it's actually disorder. Sometimes the exhaustion is coming from a lack of boundaries or unclear priorities, maybe poor rhythms within your day, your week, your month, your year, or over committing to things that God never called you to. Maybe it's decision fatigue. I know there's been plenty of times where I have gotten tired of actually making the decisions, or having to make a decision. It could be something as small as, what am I going to wear today? That creates emotional overload. And it also shows unsupported systems within our lives. And because we never stop long enough to actually evaluate the structure of our lives, we stay stuck in these cycles of overwhelm, these things that just keep repeating and repeating in our lives, that sometimes we even like to call generational curses and things such as that. No, it can be a cycle of or dysfunction within our lives that we just gotten used to. So we tend to turn to praying for peace while trying to maintain a lifestyle that makes peace impossible. I know that's hard to hear. It was hard for me to learn, and even harder for me to break out of those patterns, those mindsets, but it's true. And I've seen people who, once again, they love God so much. They're incredibly gifted. They genuinely want to obey Him, yet their lives are built in a way that constantly keeps them reactive, emotionally drained, mentally fragmented, and distant from Him. But not because they're lazy, not because they're failing spiritually, but because their lives, once again, it has no sustainable structure around the weight that they carry. And honestly, I think many people are trying to survive adult life with systems that were never designed for the amount of responsibilities that they currently hold, or that God is trying to give them. Now, one thing I've noticed about high capacity people, and I'm just learning about this word high capacity, I'm realizing that I am a high capacity person. And we are very active. We like to stay busy. We actually can do a lot. We do a lot of things. The more capable we are, the more people hand to us, right? So if you're responsible, maybe you get more responsibility. or people want to push more responsibility on you. If you're dependable, people depend on you more. You're the person that they come to for advice, for assistance, for finances, whatever the case may be. You're the dependable one. They can count on you. Or maybe you are compassionate. Maybe you just have a heart for people. So people tend to like to lean on you or dump on you emotionally and overload you with those types of things. Or maybe I have an organized friend, and she's kind of become like a default fixer for me at times. Shout out to Nicole Charnel, check her out on YouTube. But she has a way that she can get her calendar in order and make sure that she is organized in that way. And that's where I lack. So she became that shoulder for me to lean on. But eventually we wake up one day and we're carrying more than what we bargained for. We're carrying everyone else's needs, everyone else's emergencies and their expectations or their emotions, while privately trying not to collapse ourselves. And because we're handling it, right? Nobody realizes how overloaded that we actually are. They just see the strong individual or the strong woman or the strong black man, strong black woman, those types of labels that we tend to give people, not realizing that we are overloaded. And we also don't want people to realize that we are overloaded. So we keep functioning. We keep producing. We keep showing up because that's just who we are. But internally, we may be exhausted. And many people don't even realize how structurally overloaded we are because survival mode becomes normal for us. And that's huge. When chaos becomes familiar, clarity can actually feel uncomfortable at first. Because many of us have adapted to dysfunction instead of redesigning our lives around stability and clarity. Now, this is something I often say. You don't need more motivation. You need a life designed on purpose. Motivation is emotional. Structure is sustainable. And this is where so many people get stuck. We consume podcasts, we consume sermons, we consume books. I am very good, or very big, I should say, on my audiobooks. We doom scroll through reels and we consume encouragement when it does come, but we never build systems that actually support implementation. We lack in execution. So we keep restarting our lives every Monday or every first of the month. The first of the month is on its way. Who is restarting this month again? Because honestly, that cycle, it becomes emotionally discouraging because you're not getting things done. You're not really getting anything done. Eventually, we start thinking, maybe what's wrong with me? Why am I this way? Why can't I get this business off the ground? But sometimes it's not our character. Sometimes the issue is that your life is not operationally supported. You cannot sustainably manage your work, your ministry, marriage, parenting, caregiving, your education, entrepreneurship, emotional labor, and all the things without intentional structure. That's not being weak. Not weakness at all. That is reality. And we need to start living in the real world. And for us believers, that means 1 foot here on earth, but 1 foot there in spiritual places, spiritually high places. And I think believers especially need permission to stop romanticizing burnout. Burnout is not proof that you're called. Exhaustion is not proof that you are faithful. And chaos is not proof that you have surrendered, because God is not the author of confusion. So if you are constantly living in chaos, who have you surrendered to? Because it's not him. God is not glorified by our constant collapse. So that actually changes things, right? It changes our mind frame. It changes our thought pattern. But what actually changes those things? And it's one word I got for you: alignment. Not perfection, not hustle, not pressure, alignment. And alignment, it starts with being honest with ourselves, honest with others, honest about what season we're in, what capacity we truly have, what responsibilities are actually realistic in the season that we're currently in, what is unsustainable, what keeps creating overwhelm in our lives, and what is honestly stealing our peace. Because peace is not the absence of responsibility. Peace is the presence of actually being aligned. That means that your priorities, they match your values. Are your schedules supporting your goals? Or your system supporting your responsibilities? Your rhythm should support your health, and your life support your calling. Does your life support it? We have been called, we have been commissioned, we have been gifted with things that the world needs. But does our life support what it is that God has called us to do? That's different. And honestly, many people are trying to build purposeful lives on reactive foundations. You can't build on sandy ground. That's why clarity matters so much, because confusion, it drains our energy. Through decision fatigue, the constant reactivity, unclear priorities, our energy diminishes. And when your mental energy is constantly leaking, everything feels harder than it should, right? Yeah, I know, Zay. So let me give you a few practical things that you can start doing immediately. Number one, stop trying to fix everything at once. Overwhelmed people often try to overhaul their entire lives overnight. I have many instances where I have had one idea one day and it was too much, or I just couldn't mentally process it. So I just put that thing down and completely pivoted to something the next, because we shut down. We usually create more shutdown when those instances happen. So instead, we should ask ourselves, what is the one area that is creating the most friction right now in this season during this time? Start there. Then number two is audit your actual responsibility load, not your ideal life, your real life, not the life that you're trying to get to. What are you truly carrying right now? Many people are functioning beyond sustainability, our capacity, and we're pretending that it's normal. And once again, it's not. I also do have free digital downloads in regards to alignment tools that you can utilize as well to help you along your way. So definitely check out the website for those. But number three, I want you to build actual operating systems. Everything cannot live in your brain. Create a rhythm for your meals and your planning, your cleaning, your work, your ministry, your communication, your rest time, and preparation. Rhythms reduce that mental chaos, and they actually make things so much more simpler and easier to process through. And then number four, stop glorifying survival mode. It's not cute. Functioning while you're exhausted, that's not thriving. And eventually survival mode, it catches up to you either emotionally, spiritually, physically, or relationally. Your exhaustion can ripple out to those around you. And when others start to feel it, then you can cause some other damage that you don't even know about until it's too late. So last but not least, give yourself permission to redesign your life. This is so important, because some of you don't need more guilt on your shoulder. You need structure. You need support. You need clarity and breathing room. There's no shame in admitting that. And there's no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus. So honestly, this conversation is exactly why I'm preparing to host something very special called the Alignment Masterclass. Why you're overwhelmed and the system shifts that changes everything. And inside this experience, we're going even deeper into structural overwhelm, mental overload, misalignment, unsupported responsibility, sustainable rhythms, clarity systems, practical next steps. I'm going to throw a boatload of resources at you, of course, because I truly believe many people do not need another motivational speaker. And honestly, that ain't me. They need help creating lives that actually support peace, purpose, stewardship, and sustainability. And that's the work I care about deeply and that I'm building within the TMAC. So if today's episode resonated with you in any way, I want you to share it with someone who has been carrying too much silently. Let them know that you do see them and that you do care. And if you're interested in joining the upcoming masterclass, make sure that you follow along on my social media platforms and join the email list, because registration details are coming soon. But thank you so much for spending the time with me today. And remember, clarity is spiritual. Confusion is usually structural. Love you dearly. And as always, lead with grace. Stay blessed.